Welcome back, Focus Learners, to another explainer. So, today we are unpacking an absolutely fascinating and honestly kind of mind-bending shift in technology. For years, we've thought of artificial intelligence as something safely contained right there behind our screens. It generates text, maybe it makes some funny images, but it stays in the box, right? Well, that boundary is completely vanishing. Today, we're looking at how AI is rapidly breaking out of the digital realm and literally bleeding into our physical reality. From the music hitting our ears to the actual robots entering our homes, all the way to real-life medical miracles. The ground is shifting right under our feet.
It really begs the question, doesn't it? What actually happens when AI stops living in our computers and starts living in our world? We're not just dealing with virtual code anymore. We're talking about real, physical consequences. Human jobs, human art, and real-world safety are all suddenly completely tangled up with generative algorithms.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's the roadmap for today. We'll start with AI crossing into reality, look at its impact on real artists, touch on generative video and gaming, explore robots in the real world, talk about what happens when AI goes horribly wrong, and wrap up with an incredible AI medical miracle.
Section 1. AI crosses into reality. Let's talk about the Neon Oni mystery. So let's start with this totally bizarre internet mystery that absolutely captivated music fans recently. It involves this kawaii Japanese metal band called Neon Oni. Now, to the fans, this was just an incredible, fresh new force in the indie metal scene. But the truth? The truth was wild. Let's look at the timeline here. In mid-2025, Neon Oni pops up on Spotify and just explodes, grabbing over 80,000 monthly listeners. People are loving the music, they're buying the merch, the whole shebang. But to really sell a band, you need visuals, right? So, in September, the music videos drop. And that is when eagle-eyed fans started noticing these weird, glitchy visual artifacts that scream AI-generated content. A huge debate blows up online, and eventually the truth comes out. Actually, scratch that. It wasn't a 7-piece band from Japan at all. It was literally one guy in Europe using an AI music tool called Suno. He had fooled nearly 100,000 people. But here's where it gets crazy. Instead of getting canceled and fading away, the demand for the music was so overwhelmingly high that they ended up hiring 7 actual human musicians in Tokyo to perform those AI-generated songs live.
The creator behind all this released a statement that really captures the vibe of this whole transition. He said, "What began as a small experiment born inside a machine was never meant to be heard, let alone grown to something real. Eventually, the biggest request became impossible to ignore: make it real." It's just wild to think about. Sheer human demand for a digital illusion literally dragged it out of the computer and into physical existence.
Section 2. Impact on real artists. We're calling this the 75 million problem. Now, while that Neon Oni story is a fun, kind of quirky novelty, the broader impact of AI music is causing some massive friction out there. Because for every AI band that gets celebrated, there are thousands of others just completely flooding streaming platforms. Just wrap your head around this number: 75 million. That is the number of AI-generated tracks that Spotify had to scrub from its platform. 75 million. These were basically low-effort, machine-pumped tracks made for one reason: to gain the system and farm revenue. Right now, platforms are seeing something like 34% of all daily uploaded tracks being AI, and they're having to swat down tens of thousands of these songs every single day.
But it's not just about annoying platform spam, There's a real, devastating human cost here regarding copyright theft. Take the story of singer-songwriter Murphy Campbell. Murphy is an original artist. She'd played traditional banjo music, some of it passed down in her own family, just sitting in her backyard, and she'd upload these lovely videos to YouTube. Well, an entity going by Timeless Sounds IR literally fed her YouTube videos into an AI engine to perfectly mimic her voice and her exact playing style. They then blasted these AI ripoffs across all the major streaming platforms. And if that wasn't bad enough, here's the really dark twist. Using a distributor called Vidya, the AI prompters actually issued copyright strikes against Murphy's original videos. So the AI steals her voice and then legally claims ownership of it, leaving the actual human artist with absolutely nothing. It is a total Wild West out there right now.
Section 3. Generative video and gaming.
All right, let's pivot from audio to visuals, because generative AI is sending absolute shockwaves through video and gaming too. Here are 3 quick, rapid-fire updates on what's happening. First up, creator Marko Slavnik dropped an entirely AI-generated short film that racked up 5 million views in a single day. People are calling this the moment we crossed the slop threshold, meaning the pacing and the story actually landed with real human viewers. He used tools like GPT Image 2 and Seedance 2, even though Seedance could only spit out 7 seconds of video at a time. But that brings us to point 2. Tools like Seedance 2 are now generating such hyper-realistic animations that they are directly replacing human animators, all while being built on training data scraped from real artists. And finally, over in the gaming world, NVIDIA just released a new DLSS AI upscaling filter. It essentially uses AI to alter the visual style of games on the fly. And man, the backlash has been intense. Gamers and developers are arguing that this completely destroys the original human artist's carefully crafted vision.
Section 4. Robots in the real world. The hardware is here.
So we've talked about the AI on our screens and the AI in our headphones. Now let's talk about the physical, metal bodies that are literally walking among us today. Check out this crazy contrast in how robots are being used in China right now. On one side of the spectrum, you have the Lightning robot made by smartphone giant Honor. This thing just competed in a half marathon against 20 other robot teams and crossed the finish line in 50 minutes. It actually beat the human world record by 6 minutes. And then on the completely opposite end of the spectrum, you have the X-Square cleaning robot. This is a machine operating in a real family home in Shenzhen, and it costs just 149 yen a visit, which is roughly 21 bucks.
And this setup brilliantly illustrates the current dynamic of how robots fit into our daily lives. In that Shenzhen home testing the X-Square, there is a super clear division of labor. The human cleaner handles all the complex stuff, managing people, making nuanced decisions. Meanwhile, the robot handles the dull, repetitive stuff. It organizes the pillows, carries the heavy laundry basket, and loads the clothes into the washer one by one. They aren't competing, they're working as a team.
And this physical hardware is scaling up globally in some truly unexpected ways. Get this, South Korea just debuted its very first robotic monk, which, as you can imagine, caused quite a spiritual stir. Over in the US, Figure Robotics has ramped up their production line to churn out one humanoid robot every single hour, specifically focusing on autonomous bots for household chores. Meanwhile, a French company called Genesis AI has trained their new Genie model on 200,000 hours of human hand data. Because of that, they've created incredibly dexterous robot hands that can pull off long, complex tasks successfully 65% of the time. The physical rollout is happening fast, guys.
Section 5. When AI goes wrong.
But look, bringing AI into the physical world isn't all just helpful laundry bots and quirky robot monks. When we apply imperfect algorithms to high-stakes, real-world situations, the consequences are incredibly severe. And we have to talk about the chilling reality of what happened to a woman named Angela Libbs. Police were investigating a bank fraud case and used Clearview AI's facial recognition software to try and identify a suspect. Well, the AI confidently and incorrectly matched the suspect to Angela's face from a surveillance camera. Because of that one single algorithmic glitch, this grandmother was arrested at gunpoint. She was wrongly imprisoned for 6 months. Her lawyer eventually proved she was actually 1,200 miles away when the crime happened, but the physical damage to her life was already done. While she was locked in a cell, she couldn't pay her bills, and tragically, she lost both her house and her car. It is a really grave reminder that this tech is absolutely not flawless enough to be dictating human freedom.
That story is undeniably tragic, and it really puts the massive risks of surveillance AI right in our faces. But it leads us to a necessary pivot. We've seen how AI can steal art, and we've seen how it can wrongfully imprison a grandmother. But on the flip side, can AI also save lives?
Section 6. An AI medical miracle.
Okay, I want to share this unbelievable story out of Australia about a guy named Paul Cunningham and his dog Rosie. Poor Rosie was diagnosed with cancer. Paul spent thousands on chemo and surgery, but the vet ultimately gave Rosie only months to live. Now, Paul had absolutely zero medical background, none, but he refused to give up, and the step-by-step process he took is just astounding. Step 1, Paul opens up ChatGPT to try and figure it out himself, and the AI suggests looking into immunotherapy. Step 2. Following the chatbot's lead, he goes to a genomics lab at the University of New South Wales. For about $3,000, he pays them to sequence a fresh copy of Rosie's healthy DNA and compare it directly against her cancer DNA to pinpoint the exact mutations. Step 3, he takes that massively complex genomic data and feeds it into AlphaFold, an advanced AI system, which then successfully designs a totally custom cancer vaccine built entirely from Rosie's own DNA.
And the craziest part? The lab actually manufactured the AI-designed vaccine and gave it to Rosie. The results were mind-blowing. Within weeks, Rosie's tumor shrank by half. The medical scientists involved were absolutely stunned. And not just because the biological treatment worked, but because an everyday guy, again, zero medical background, used publicly accessible AI tools to engineer a highly personalized, life-saving medical treatment for his dog.
And that, focus learners, brings us to the core of today's explainer. AI is no longer just a chatbot sitting in a browser window. It is a profound technology that is directly rewriting our physical reality, sometimes for the absolute worst, and sometimes for the miraculous best. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to ponder. If a man with zero medical background can collaborate with AI to cure his dying dog, what on earth are we going to build next? Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.